I have a take that is sincerely held, and this channel is about sharing those takes. I think I think people all across the political spectrum will hate it, but I just need to get it out there. I don't care about the economy at all. That is like not a thing that I think about on a regular basis. And I think that most people would be better served by not thinking about the state of the economy in like a big picture sense, right? I'm talking GDP, inflation, the state of like the stock market, quarterly economic growth, that kind of thing. I think we should put all that out of our minds. um, and I realized like that it matters, right? I realized that the economy is enormously impactful on literally every member of society. However, I think most people, those of us who create like the value that is measured in the GDP, the economy, whatever, but don't own a bunch of shares, basically the economy getting better means things continue to get worse for us on average. And the economy getting worse means things get worse for us faster. I guess maybe a good entry point into this hot take is the American economy, the strongest in the world, the strongest in history. They have so much shit going on. I don't know if you've noticed. The American GDP is $90,000 per capita. $90,000 basically of like trade per person. That is so far ahead of any other country that is not like a tax haven. I live in Canada. The GDP is 54-ish thousand dollars per person. The thing I can't help but notice about that is that my life here is safer. I live with less pollution, better social services, less fear of violence, better worker protections, better healthcare. Um, and literally all of this is spurred by like a fucking Reddit argument I got in recently where I was saying like, yeah, we can do social programs. That's good. And an American was saying, well, yeah, but you know, you're from Canada, and your economy is so much smaller because of all of this stuff that you do. You focus on the social programs instead of economic growth, and I can't help but think that what matters in a society is like what happens, what happens to the people. So to me, like a better economy would be great if it was in service of improving the social services. And if you can't have like nice things for people, housing, healthcare, general protections because of the economy, then it's like, why even have a strong economy? There's a nuance here, which is that obviously for like developing countries, economic development is a very important thing and does enable a lot more social services and a lot more just like general well-being for the population. I feel like China's a decent example here. Just life has gotten so much better on average for the average Chinese citizen from when they were like a lower middle income country. I am mostly addressing people who live in the US, Canada, and Europe. That is where most of my audience lives. That's where I live. And our countries have been rich for long enough that I think any like life benefit from economic development, we basically had that by like in Canada's case like the 60s, the 70s. And it's sort of been all downhill from there. Let's say like the economy is in a really good place, right? Unemployment is low, inflation is low, GDP is growing steadily, stock market is looking strong. What does that mean for the average person? It means that their boss's stock portfolio had a really good year. Are they going to be paid more for that? Statistically, I mean, no. And on top of that, like the economic growth is coming from more value being extracted by those bosses out of the workers. Like, literally, if it was a more equitable system for the people who make the value that is happening, the economy would be worse because the people doing all this, like stock trading and investment and stuff, would have less money to play with. No, I have not taken any economics courses. I know that there are a lot of people on the left who know like a ton about this stuff, and feel free to correct me, but just know that my basic idea is right. I feel it strongly. Jesus Christ. So the economy is strong. Yes, you could make more money if you were in a growing industry, but on average, the things I've seen here in Canada are in a strong economy, housing gets more expensive, whether you're looking to buy a house or you're renting, and groceries get a hell of a lot more expensive. Those like trajectories have continued throughout my entire adult life, and I think they will continue to continue. It's great for rich people. For the rest of us, it seems like yeah, there's some ups and downs. Some things might get a little bit better, but on average, life is still getting harder for the average person. Now, if the economy is bad, I see why that is something that a working middle class person might worry about, because that could mean that you could lose your job. Your healthcare becomes, privatized, or services get sold off. Mind you, these are also things that can happen in a good economy. But basically, by way of austerity measures, things continue to get worse, but that happens faster. That matters. Of course, you should be concerned if that's going to happen. How is it for rich people when the economy is bad? From what I can tell, also still good. This is the thing that fucks with me so much. The 2008 and 2020 financial crises were so good for rich people, if not in the short term, at least in the long term. Not only because all those people who crashed the global economy didn't go to prison or whatever, but because when a bunch of poor people have to sell their houses or foreclose on their mortgages or whatever, who snaps all that stuff up? It's rich people. When unemployment skyrockets and you really need a job, who's going to hire you for a lower wage? It's rich people. And so when the economy recovers, they're doing fucking better than ever. For your average person, the economy obviously matters, but it doesn't it's not something we should be emotionally invested in or excited about. Things are going to get harder for a lot of people either way, and the people who sort of own the bulk of the economy want that to happen and sort of need it to happen in order for the economy to continue growing. The state of economic growth or the stock market or whatever is just not the main thing we should be concerned with when we are making policy choices and deciding what to support. And in particular, I want to stop hearing that we can't afford so and so government project that involves spending money that would be good for a lot of people. I don't want to hear that we can't afford to solve homelessness. I don't want to hear that the fucking United States, richest country in history, can't implement single-payer universal healthcare. Literally, yes, it can. You know what country has universal healthcare? Cuba. Cuba's GDP is about $15,000 per capita. The US, $90,000. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't do that math in person. Cuba's is this many times smaller. Jesus Christ. And yet, Cuba manages to pay its doctors to travel to poorer countries and treat people there. And Cuba is leading the way in many medical research fields. And Cuba, again, a poor country by my standards and many people's standards, has a higher life expectancy than the United States. If your people are dying sooner, who gives a shit about the economy? What is it in service of if not people living longer, healthier, better lives? The actual reason these things aren't implemented is because, yes, they would cost rich people money through, taxes. And those rich people aren't scared that anyone is going to, line them against a wall and shoot them right now. And that fear has fueled social safety nets all around the world. It's brought us wonderful things. I'm not even saying that to say that we need to strike fear into the hearts of every rich person. I'm saying that to say if they felt like they needed to, they would. The people who the politicians are actually accountable to and funded by, the class that the politicians are a part of, simply doesn't feel like implementing these things that would be really good for your average person. And if they wanted to, they would. So I need us to stop asking for less, I guess is what I'm saying. I need us to stop saying that we can't afford, I don't know, high-speed public rail or universal pharmacare or free tuitions in all public universities. Literally, here's the thing. Yeah, we can. That's just not a priority. And if it was a priority, maybe the economy would be smaller. Fucking so what? That's like, those things are the point of having a society. You can identify this as like a thing with people who subscribe to like conservative, economic policy, and it is that, but it's also centrists and liberals and some progressive people worrying about the economy in some abstract way, in a way that like actively gets in the way of what would be good for them and for most people that constitute the country. Which is the thing that matters. Why are you preoccupied with what's in someone else's bank account? Literally, who cares? If if implementing these things would cause a weaker economy that would then get you laid off, and like that's what you're worried about, uh-oh, sounds like your boss fucking sucks. Maybe we should do something about the system. Fuck, okay, my camera fell over. Let me put it back and make the point that I was making, which is I'm not even saying that it's like unfounded to worry about what so and so social policy would do to the economy. I'm just saying that like if implementing these things that are like really good for most people is going to cause an economic slowdown that is going to get you fired, it sure sounds like the people who make the hiring and firing decisions and the business investment decisions are holding the rest of us hostage so we can advance like their policy goals. And I think that's undemocratic. And like the system working that way is a choice. Okay, maybe a huge economy should be able to support its citizens. The words that I'm living by lately, what matters is what happens. Who cares if the number's bigger? Damn, I went off with that one. Okay, bye.